Hey, what's up, guys? We're back. We are here. It is our victory Sunday night. First time doing it after a W. So just reintroducing. I'm Andrew.
Yep, and I'm Randy.
Coming off a big W. Got a lot to talk about. Kind of just go over how it was. I know wasn't the most eventful game for everyone, but we have a bunch to dive into. So you got anything to add before we hit this?
No, I thought it was pretty pedestrian, but there's some stuff to talk about. It wasn't terrible. At least you got a 20-3 victory out of it, and
Absolutely.
getting the W is all that matters. But there's stuff to work on, and we'll cover that when we're talking
And it's
about it.
honestly it's a good thing to win 20-3 and still be like, ah man, we left a lot out there. So if that doesn't say progress, I really don't know what does.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
all right, so to run down these stats. So of course Ryan Fitzpatrick made the start for us. He went 24 of 39. Real quick to kind of interrupt that. So I don't think Tua's thrown 39 passes since he's been playing. I don't even think he's thrown 30. Just to kind of put that in perspective. He had 257 yards, 2 touchdowns. Our leading running back, who even by visual as well as stats, was DeAndre Washington. He had 13 attempts for 49 yards. He kind of just looked like the most dominant back, especially considering Breida and Laird both fumbled. He
Yeah, that
did
was not good. We'll
a
talk about
strong
that.
runner. He also did contribute into the passing game as well. He had 2 catches. And then, of course, our leading receiver, Devontae Parker, 8 catches for 119 yards. We'll give shout outs on the defensive side to Nick Needham and Xavier Howard, of course. Xavier Howard also had 3 passes defended, so people might be forgetting that. He had the interception, but man, there were many opportunities he could have had more.
He was
And
close.
then lastly, Jerome Baker and Kyle Van Noy both earned half a sack, as well as actually Raekwon Davis and Landon Roberts. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so my takeaways. Obviously, the most impressive side of the ball is always our defense. Kind of has been all season. The offense has been very slow, really, no matter who the quarterback is. So I'll let you kind of start off on it.
Yeah. So my takeaways, I guess, well, there's a lot to talk about. And it's weird because it was kind of, like I said, a pedestrian game, but there's still a lot to unpack. You mentioned Nick Needham. I don't know if you remember the preseason game last year in 2019. He had a terrible preseason game. It was like the third or fourth game, and he did not belong on an NFL field at all. He
I
got
don't remember.
cut after that game. He got cut after training camp. He just had a terrible showing. And then for him to come from that to where he is now, he's a respectable nickel corner. I mean, you see them target him a lot, and frankly, defenses target him because you can't go to the outside. Look at the success that you don't have when you throw to the outside. So I think Nick Needham's come a long way. I'm excited to get into the different goods and bads about this. And my most positive take out of all of this is I could sit here and pick apart problem after problem, and we're 7-4, which is awesome because that means after next year, after a full offseason and a full draft, we'll probably be a lot closer than we are now because we're missing pieces. I can tell you this team now could make the playoffs, but we're not. We're at least a year away from where we really expect to be. So this is all gravy this season. It's all just building towards 2021.
Yep, absolutely, I agree. The other thing I'll credit Nick Needham to is there's been a lot of last year. He did step into his role pretty well last year, considering all the weakness of talent we had on that roster. There really wasn't anyone flashing cameras. But as far as this year goes, he started off slow, and of course, everyone thought Noah Igbenogany was going to be that third corner, that slot corner. But Needham has really, honestly, just taken over that role, and deservedly so. Yeah, I think he's performed very well. There's been a few plays where I'm like, oh, Nick Needham, but he is a young player. I think he was undrafted, correct?
Yeah, he was undrafted and he's really made a name for himself. This whole defense actually has been so impressive on so many different levels. One of the most impressive things to me is when an offense decides to go for it on 4th and 1. I get excited because I'm fairly
I
confident that we're going to stop it. And I could never have said that in past years. This year, every time someone lines up for a 4th and 1, I'm like, cool, we've got at least a 50% to 60% chance of stopping it. And I don't know what the stats are, but if you go look back at this entire season, I remember more 4th down stops than 4th down conversions that we've let up.
Yeah,
So
the
that's good.
Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins up front is getting
Good
pretty
to have.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's great to
So
have
that's
them back. Those are two big
yeah,
guys, and they've
getting pretty
just been,
dangerous.
yeah.
All right, so besides that game, let's kind of talk about this whole week. So Tua Tagovailoa injured his thumb on a teammate's helmet. I guess what I can assume it would be is when he threw the ball, the pocket was collapsing, and he probably just jammed his finger on his offensive lineman's helmet. Um, I was on my Twitter, I was very controversial about this because he did practice. He was limited in practice, right? And I'm sure everyone's had a jammed finger or something. I don't know the extremities of how bad it was for him, but the best thing to do is rest and ice it to reduce the swelling. And I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion,
Yeah.
but he practiced all week, limited. He didn't have a brace. Of course, I don't think he could be able to throw with a brace on his hand, and he was questionable. And then Saturday, when they traveled to New York, he rested. They didn't practice Saturday, and then he was downgraded to doubtful on Saturday, which is just a little weird. Like unless it somehow got worse, which it might have. And then I also thought it was weird before the game he was throwing in the tunnel, not on the field, in the tunnel with I think it was the athletic trainer. He was throwing the football in the tunnel. And mind you, we didn't need him this game if it was, and I don't think Brian Flores or anyone's lying about his thumb. So I don't mind the decision to rest him, but it was just weird. Just the way they handled it was weird.
It was weird, but you have to think of a few things that might have happened. Maybe the decision moved to doubtful when they looked at the film from practice. Flores is a real day-to-day guy, and I'm sure he did look at the film and he saw something he didn't like. I think this is a good decision to sit Tua because there's no reason he needs to play against the 0-10 Jets at all. Let him sit. That's 60 less passes or 50 less or 40 less or whatever fits through for. It's a number of passes less that he didn't have to endure on his thumb that could exacerbate the problem. Let him sit. We have a luxury more than any other NFL team does by a long shot that we have two quarterbacks that are about equally capable. And for me, Tua is a long-term answer. I don't need to see anything. I know people are still on the prove it train. He's about as good as Fitz is now with half the knowledge of the offense. I think what I wanted to talk about with Tua is what he hasn't learned to do yet is to just close his eyes and throw the ball to Devontae Parker because Devontae Parker's not open and Mike Gesicki's not open. But just because there's no separation doesn't mean they can't bring that ball down. I want Tua to learn that you just need to throw it to them, whether they're open or not, especially if it's a one-on-one situation. You have to throw it and trust them. The balls never get intercepted when they're thrown. I've never thought, at least this season, I've not seen Devontae Parker give up an interception on a jump ball. That's not who he is. If anything, you'll draw a PI, and we live off of the PI and the big plays with Fitz. So I think Tua can learn. People say you don't learn anything from sitting. Maybe from this game he can learn, hey, look, Devontae was never open, and he had a monster game, and it was just throwing it to him.
Yep.
Just
And I
trust
even
him.
think after he got subbed out against Denver, that little clip we saw of Fitz telling him, he told him, he's like, they're not going to look open. And sometimes you just got to throw them the ball and they got to make a play. They get paid to make those plays. They don't get
Yeah.
paid to, only catch the wide open passes. They get paid to make those contested catches. So I think that's something that'll come. I'm sure, man, I couldn't imagine. I'm sure he's very uncomfortable still. You got to think, this man was playing college football. He got hurt. He didn't play football for a year. And he without playing any football, he has to catch up to the NFL game speed of football. And I think he's done it well.
He's done it well. He's in what, 4 games? He's lost 1 game of the 4, and he's been efficient. 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. No
Yeah.
quarterback can say that. Tom Brady can't say that. Brett Favre can't say that. Patrick Mahomes can't say that. None of them put up that kind of. He's careful with the ball, and that's impressive. And I think he's been impressive. And he's also had to shift to having a receiving core that is completely unlike what he used to have at Alabama, which is, we'll get to the draft later in the podcast just a little bit. He does need receivers that can create space, or he needs to learn to adjust. And I think he can do either. He's good enough to do either. But it's a big adjustment because he's never had to throw jump balls like that at Bama where, he knew his guys could create space. That's just not what this roster has, and that's not going to change. So it's on him to adjust just to get the balls to the guys who are catching those contested passes.
Yeah, and the one play where I was like, damn, I really thought Tua could make that throw was the deep ball that Jakeem Grant just dropped because Fitz horribly underthrew him. He was, he had 3, 4 steps on the guy,
And he had to come back
and
for it.
I'm just waiting to see Tua. And Tua has an arm. I don't care what any of these guys say. I've seen him absolutely just sling it with his left hand, and I feel like, man, that's one of those plays where it would have just been beautiful to see him hit Jakeem Grant in stride for the long touchdown.
Yeah.
But just to wrap this up real quick. So let me ask you:
Mhm.
if you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and you know what Fitz brings, he brings the offense. Supposedly, I think it's the same, but a lot of people think he brings the more numbers on offense. He brings the risk of turnovers. Tua's the careful quarterback. Which quarterback would you start?
I start Tua for a number of reasons. If Tua's healthy, he's my guy. It's no question. I don't need to see Fitz. I've seen Fitz enough. I think Fitz had a game today where he didn't make any decisions that would put the ball in jeopardy. But
He
who's he
almost did.
throwing on? He almost did, and he's throwing
Multiple
on who? Bryce Hall and Lamar Jackson, the cornerback. I mean, these are guys with no NFL experience that a veteran like Fitz can take advantage of, and people like Devontae. How's Bryce Hall gonna compete with that? I think that you start Tua because Tua needs to learn how to play against Patrick Mahomes, because I want to see Tua play against Patrick Mahomes in an AFC championship game, and he needs to learn. Even if he fails, he needs to get used to the speed of the game, and he needs the reps. I don't think the drop off in play is humongous. I think we've got one guy who will throw 50-50 balls with no question, and we've got one guy who's a little bit more careful. They should tell Tua it's okay to throw an interception. Let him know, hey, it's okay to throw interceptions as long as the thought was there, hey, if it's a one-on-one matchup, and he needs to get confident in what he sees. So I'm going Tua all the way. I'm a big Tua fan. I think that he's the future and he needs the reps.
I agree. So it's okay to throw interceptions as long as they aren't based off your reads. If it's a one-on-one
That's
coverage,
what I'm saying.
yep. So if you throw
Take
a
a
jump
risk.
ball to Devontae and the guy ends up making a play, which, like you said, I don't know if I've ever seen it happen, then it is what it is. You took the chance, and that's when they get paid to do that too on defense. Like that's what they get paid to do. They did their
Yeah.
job. So that's about all I got on to. Anything else?
That's fine. I'm hoping to see him next week. I'm going to the game, so I'd hope to.
Yeah, yeah.
I was hoping to see Joe Burrow and Tua, and if I end up seeing Fitz, and I don't know who plays quarterback for the
I
Cincinnati
will
Bengals.
tell you who played quarterback today. It was Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen, did they win?
No, they lost to the Giants by 2, which is
Oh,
which. I'll give him. I mean, dude had 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean,
okay. I mean, we'll see. I think that the Dolphins will bring their A game. I'm excited for next week. Whether Fitz or Tua plays, it'll be fun. But I'd much rather see Tua in person.
absolutely. All right. So, some questions for you now. Get into this. As far as today's date, November 29th, 2020, what is the biggest weakness for the Miami Dolphins?
Oh God, I've got two things. The run,
Big.
the
Let's
run
go
game. It's the biggest weakness has to be the run game, and I don't think that that's even. We don't have a run game. I don't know who to blame because today I'm blaming the running backs. Not every game do I blame the running backs, but you can't be fumbling. We don't even have the offensive line to create the opportunity to begin with. Can we afford to have fumbles every? I mean, Patrick Laird and Breida, I think, had the other fumble. The only person who didn't fumble was Washington, and I'm sure it was drilled in his head that if he fumbles, then Fitz is going to play running back. So, like the running game has multiple issues. This is an interesting thought on my part. I would like to see Jesse Davis kick out to right tackle and Robert Hunt in at guard, just to see if he can provide a spark at guard in a running game. He was projected by draft analysts prior to the draft as a guard. So I'd like to see him do that. I mean, it's a combination, right? We need holes. And today there weren't many, but some were found, some weren't. We have a carousel of running backs, none of whom are talented, honestly. But they wouldn't start, let's just say it this way, they wouldn't be taking snaps for any other team, pretty much. So
So,
that's got to fix. And I don't know what fixes that. I don't think that fixes anytime soon. That's going to be a problem. Playoff teams have running games. So if we make the playoffs without a running game, it'll say something and we won't go very far. You need to be able to run the football, and they did run it out at the end, but it's the Jets, and
yeah, I can't think of another playoff team that doesn't. Now that you bring that up, I can't think of one that doesn't have like at least a decent running game. A decent. And we've been unfortunate with as far as the free agent signings and the injuries. Let's see, we had Jordan Howard as our number one going into the season. He was our first starter. We had Matt Breida. Then we went Miles Gaskin. Then we went Savon Ahmed. Then we went Patrick Laird and DeAndre Washington. So we're all really on our sixth running back.
Sixth or seventh back. So the one thing I could say confidently is that Gaskin and Ahmed, they'll come back.
Yep.
So I don't know when Ahmed will come back. I know he's got a shoulder injury. Gaskin will suit up this upcoming week. He was very
Yeah.
close to suiting up this week, so he's gonna come for the Bengals game. I expect Gaskin to be there. But the thing is, we're sitting here cheering for Gaskin and Ahmed as if they're like some Pro Bowl running backs. They're the only people who can competently carry the ball somewhat, who can
Yeah.
kind of pass block and who can kind of catch at an average level. And we're shooting for average right now. And they still are going to need help from the O-line. They need to figure that out. And I don't know if that's something you can scheme. Maybe you can get Mac Hollins in on more plays. You can get Durham
Yeah.
Smythe and Shaheen. I'm very impressed with Shaheen and Smythe. I think you've got three tight ends in the room that Smythe and Shaheen they can do both things, and that's great. And Gesicki, he has his role. So we'll see what they do with that moving forward. But they can help. I don't know how much, but they can help.
Yeah. Not to get off on a
Yeah.
tangent or anything, but man, it's like more and more every week. I see how, and no disrespect at all, and I might get some hate for this. I feel like Mike Gesicki is so replaceable. He's
I don't see
only
him getting re-signed. I actually think that. Sorry to interrupt, but I kind of agree with you on that. I think to myself, when you look at this year's draft and you see where we're picking, which right now we're going to talk about the draft in a bit, but we're picking 11 and 21, and you have a person like Kyle Pitts out of Florida who would be incredibly dynamic and should be about the 10th overall pick. So there's more tight ends than that could just come in and just replace Gesicki. I actually think you could get some trade value out of him because I think he's a valuable player in the receiving game somewhat. You've got to have a quarterback that'll throw those 50-50 balls, but I don't see a lot of use for a tight end that can't run block. And he's shown that he's not going to be able to learn that skill. He's in year 3 and he hasn't learned it yet. I don't see him learning it anytime soon.
yeah. It's hard to play this guy when he only does half his job. That's kind of what I think. It's like, I think Durham Smythe is very effective. I don't see him drop passes. I see Gesicki sometimes he makes great contested catches. But I want a tight end that can bruise in there, doesn't give away your play call. Because pretty much if you see Gesicki in the game or down on the line, chances are we're not running the ball. Most of the time we're not going to run the ball because he can't block. Can't
Yeah.
block. So
Yeah. And Shaheen had a good catch today. Smythe had a few catches. I think Shaheen is capable. I think that's a great offseason trade to get him. They gave a conditional 7th-round pick for him, and he's clearly been worth at least that. But
all right.
yeah,
So
let's.
real quick, I want to give credit to Chris Greer and the whole Miami Dolphins organization. They definitely know how to find diamonds in the rough. We can look at Nick Needham, Savon Ahmed, Preston Williams even was undrafted, Miles Gaskin, Malcolm Perry, all these guys that contribute a lot to our team are either late round picks or we get them for conditional draft picks or cheap free agent signings. So I give a lot of credit to them because they've found a lot of diamonds in the rough out there.
Low risk, high reward
Yeah.
signings. It's just for both of us, for me and Andrew, I think this is a perspective that kind of I don't know about differentiates us, but something about us, unlike some of maybe older Dolphins YouTube or content creators, is we're used to a certain way of doing things as young fans that this is so foreign to us. Why this feels so optimistic to me, even if we lose games now. I don't remember developing talent in my lifetime as a Dolphins fan. I don't remember finding diamonds in the rough anywhere. I remember throwing money my whole life is I'm thinking to
Arian
get to where we
Foster,
need to go. You throw money at the old Donnell Ellerby's,
Arian Foster,
yeah.
Arian Foster, Mario Williams, all
Mario
those.
Williams, Arian Foster, Frank Gore,
Yeah.
who else? I mean, and Ndamukong Suh was good, but it's just throwing all this money and never developing your own talent. And then when you get someone like Jarvis Landry, good talent, always letting them walk. Always. We let the good talent walk. We trade away Brandon Marshall. We sign old people and That's what I'm used to. And now look at where we are, where we're finding Salvin Ahmed and we're finding Miles Gaskin in the 7th round, and they're producing and they're making it work with players that you've never heard of, with draft picks you'd never used before. We used to, I can name some 7th round draft picks in that I remember in my lifetime who were just cut. Like, there were people like, I think there was a corner, Cornell Armstrong, and this is getting way off topic. There's just a bunch of people. You'd sign the 7th round draft pick and expect them not to make the team. That was a
Yep.
draft pick you were picking to cut and for someone else to find.
Yep.
So this is incredible for us in our age group to finally be able to see what Andrew just talked about, is developing talent and finding talent with minimal resources.
Oh, all right. So you're on the clock. You have, you know what? We'll go four. We'll go 4 picks. You have your 2 first-round picks and your 2 second-round picks. You don't have to name players, and give me some players you like in college football right now.
Okay.
We're going to try and keep this a little brief. So give me a few players you like and give me the positions you want with those 4 picks in order. What are you doing?
So I'm assuming we're picking 11 and 21.
We'll go with that.
That's today's draft. I'm assuming we're picking 11, 21, and that those aren't going to get worse or better, which they both probably will. So if I'm at 11, I'm hoping to get. Okay, I'm using 3 of these 4 picks on skill positions, probably on the offensive side, no question. 3 of them, and that's a lot of resources to dump into this, and this offense needs it. On pick 11, I am getting Jalen Waddle out of Alabama, or Kyle Pitts out of Florida. That gives you either an option that either Tua's familiar with and we know is a stud in Jalen Waddle, or Kyle Pitts, who leads college football in touchdowns, and he's missed the last 2 games and still leads it. Amazing. So one of those two, that's a home run pick on either one if you can get them. Pick 21, I'm going to throw a curveball at. If you feel at any point that Travis Etienne isn't going to make it to this 21st pick, I don't care what you give. You give a 3rd-round pick to get to Travis Etienne to move up. If Travis Etienne falls to 21, you slam the button and you take Travis Etienne. You need a running back and a receiver in the 1st round. People say don't draft a first. Throw that out. Draft a 1st-round running back. You need a stud. You need someone who can just come in, plug and play, give this running game life. That's the first 2. The second 2, I either double down on receiver,
Okay.
or I'm going O-line again. I'll either go best O-lineman available. I'm going to go center, or I mean, we need a linebacker too, but I don't want to go defense with these picks. The
Yeah.
defense has proven that they can handle themselves. And
Linebacker is something I would. That's something you can attack in free agency because it's not a weak point because we do. Van Ginkel's a linebacker. I think we just need a coverage linebacker.
coverage linebacker, but I want to go offensive line and one more. I either want to get another receiver. I want to double down. I really do want to either double down. I know we have Hearns and we have Wilson coming back. If they get cut, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bat an eye if they get cut. I just want to get. I think you'd agree with me on the O-line help. I'd love to get a center. I like Ted Karras. He's on a 1-year deal. He's okay. Maybe bring him back and maybe
I
he
would
can
resign
compete.
him. I would resign him.
Sign him and maybe he can be a backup or he can compete or something. I'm starting to be we're getting into an awesome territory that this team has never been in. We're starting to get to the point where I think we can double down in free agency and the draft on positions. So I think you can get away with re-signing Ted Karras and drafting a center and even drafting one early. I don't care if they have to compete. Look at this year. This is the first year in my entire life and your entire life for sure that when an O-lineman has gotten hurt, Solomon Kinley, we were able to put someone else in the lineup and not suffer any losses. The O-line isn't good, but it certainly isn't worse than it was last week. In fact, it was almost better this week. Yeah. So when was the last time you could say the O-line could have that kind of depth? I want more of that. Sign me another one. Your turn. Go. You're on the clock.
All right. So you said picks 11 and 21. Then our 2 second-round picks. So I'm almost identical to you, a little bit different. So with pick 11, I'm going receiver. I'm going skill position, best player available at receiver. So whether it be Jamar Chase, I don't think he'll fall there, but if he does, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and it might be a little early, but I would even take Devontae Smith there.
I was gonna say it's not too early. You're getting Tua. Both of those guys get specially bumped up your draft board, right? Because they have chemistry already. They have tons of chemistry. Devontae Smith, I'm pretty sure, was the one who caught the touchdown in the national championship. Plenty of chemistry there. Both of those 11 or whatever your first round pick, there's no reach. Even
Yep.
if it's a top 10 pick, I don't think it's a reach.
And then with the 21st pick, so like I said, similar to you, the only difference is I'm not trading anything for Travis Etienne. If Najee Harris is there, I'm taking him
At 21,
at 21.
you're
If he's
you're comfortable that he's a first round running back.
well, think about this. Are you can get ETN, but you're also losing a third round talent, you know? If
Okay.
Najee Harris is there at 21, in my opinion, I don't think we have any bigger holes in running back. So it's like,
Okay.
take the guy. I think he's a great running back. I mean,
People will sit there and look at that pick and say it's as much of a reach as Austin Jackson was, and I can't complain about Austin Jackson. I mean, when you look at Austin Jackson at 18, that was a reach. So,
well, I don't care.
according to the according to the pundits.
Give me my running back, and of course, I would love Travis Etienne, but I'm not trading a third round pick for him if Harris is there. Now, let's say Etienne's gone, and somehow we think, oh crap, someone might pick Harris before us. Then I would really be in scramble mode because I want one of those two guys. And then as far as our second round, I would double down on receiver, um, and then I'd probably go O line.
I have a curveball. So at 21, what if you get three players that are on the board still? Okay, here's a good one. So you have Alex Leatherwood, the current left tackle for Alabama. You have Leatherwood, ETN, and Najee Harris. Are you really going to pick one of those two running backs over Alex Leatherwood, who you know could probably play guard, tackle, and he's probably an upgrade over. He's at least an upgrade over one player. Maybe he's an upgrade over multiple players. He's
I,
been a 4-year starter at Bama.
I'm pulling Travis Etienne.
Me
Yeah,
too,
you just have
regrettably, but me
Austin
too.
Jackson. You have Robert Hunt. We just talked about the player development. So
They'll get better.
Travis Etienne, if that was me.
Yeah, I would take Travis Etienne too, but I'd struggle because I do know that any O line help could open up the running game for people like Gaskin and Ahmed. I don't want to put too much stock into them, but they could probably get the job done even better. Anyone can run through a gigantic gap, so it's tough. But I'm right there with you. I think we should pull on running back, and I don't even know if that'll happen. You never know with this front office; they could do anything.
All right. So I don't think I have anything else on the draft. I think we're all good there. So wide receiver, running back. I know that's a little weird for the first round, but I think we have a lot of talent outside of those positions, and we both have agreed that those are our two biggest weaknesses. So
We've got a lot of draft picks in this draft coming up. I think you double down. I'm learning that we're at the part that let's see. This meeting has been upgraded by the host and now includes unlimited minutes.
yeah,
Interesting. Did you see that? I don't know if that popped up on your screen. That'll pop up in the video. Apologize for that. But yeah, I think we should start doubling down because we're at that point. I don't think this team is a lot of pieces away, but unfortunately we're a running game away, which I don't know what fixes that, but we'll get there and we'll get the receivers. And we're very much alive as we were before. We're still very much in it. Some key losses happened today. I didn't pay attention to all of them. But the Raiders lost. I'm sure the Ravens will lose if that game gets played. If that game gets canceled, there's always the chance of having an eighth playoff seed. They were talking about adding that if they had to, if more games got canceled. So the Dolphins win either way here because the Ravens will probably either lose or that game will be canceled. And they could open up another playoff spot.
that's a great transition to what we're about to talk about. So, current AFC playoff picture: we have Pittsburgh at the number one seed, obviously at 10-0. We have Kansas City at number two, 9-1. We have Tennessee at number three at 8-3, and Buffalo number four, winning the AFC East right now at 8-3. As of right now, the three wild card teams are Cleveland at 8-3, Miami at 7-4, and Indianapolis at 7-4. So right now, if the playoffs were to start, Miami's going to Tennessee to play Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry. In the hunt, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at 6-4, so just one game behind us. We do play them later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
We have Baltimore at 6-4, New England at 5-6, and Denver at 4-6. Both of those who currently hold the tiebreaker, but of course we do play New England again.
Yeah. So with that, I look at a few things. I think we're very lucky that a couple of things are in our control. So we have a few of those teams, like we have the Raiders and the Patriots still left to play. I think we can sneak some AFC wins. My curiosity will be what we do down the stretch. We need to beat the Raiders, and I think they only scored 6 points today. I'm not sure who they played. I don't really remember. Who they play?
Falcons.
Okay, the Falcons. Okay, and that's a team that fired their coach this year. So, and it was like a 46-6 or
Yeah, it's
somewhere along those lines. Uh, I think you play these teams down the line. I'm really curious to see what the Dolphins do against really good opponents like the Chiefs. So maybe that's a trap game for the Chiefs. Maybe I doubt it. They looked really good today, but maybe that's one you can sneak. You have to win against New England. You have to win against the Raiders, and I think Buffalo could rest their starters that week because I don't think that we're going to be winning
they
this division
clinch.
this year.
They clinch. One thing I like about the current situation is we are in control of our own destiny. We're not one of those teams right now. They're like, oh, we got to pray for these teams to lose. No,
We
we
used
just
to
got to
be.
run our
Remember
games.
that? Remember
Yeah,
every Joe Philbin season, even Adam Gase, you're just sitting there kind of holding your hands together and just hoping that, hey, if the Ravens beat the Raiders and then, Johnny's uncle, bets on the horse number X, like we'll get in there. And you had to just like cross your fingers and do a rain dance and hope that you'd make the playoffs. Right now, we're not at that stage. And maybe it will come to that. Depends on if they give up any games they shouldn't lose. They have to win the games they have to win.
yeah. Like I said, we're in our control of our own destiny. We just got to, like you said, win the games we're supposed to win. I still think the magic number is 10. So hopefully, I think we could beat I almost said Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think we can beat Buffalo. I think we can beat New England, and I think we can beat Cincinnati. So I don't think we'll win all those, but those are all can wins, and I think we can beat the Chiefs. It just depends which team comes out. If the team that played the Cardinals comes out, I think we got a chance. But we'll see.
There's something uplifting is I do trust the coaching staff. I trust them against the Chiefs. That I think that Brian Flores has done well in the past against the Chiefs. If I am not mistaken, I think he has done well when he was with New England against them. I've seen him be able to scheme up good game plans. I trust this defense. If they can get this done offensively somehow, I trust the defense. I don't know if they can limit Hill. I don't know if they can limit Kelsey. Well, Kelsey, I'm actually not that worried about. I think Eric Rowe's done a great job, and I think that they
So
can
is
win.
Xavier Howard. So is Xavier Howard. So
It's being That's true, but I don't know if X has the speed, and I think they're going to put Jones on him, and Jones needs to work on a few things. I'm not saying he's playing poorly, but there's obviously a few things he needs to work on in terms of just. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes he's locking his guy down, and then when he doesn't, it always happens to be a deep bomb.
yeah.
But Jones has the speed. So I think every game outside of Kansas City, absolutely, we have a definite chance to win. I like our chances in every game outside of Kansas City. Kansas City, I don't like our chances, but I like that it's at home, and I think that the coaching staff, you never know with this coaching staff. Any given Sunday, they can come up with a plan that can win you the game. We shouldn't have beaten the Cardinals, and we outcoached Cliff Kingsbury. We absolutely outcoached him.
Yep.
So we can do
All
that.
right. So last thing we're going to talk about previewing the Bengals. So next week, December 6th, you will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy my seats.
Yes, I will.
We play the Bengals at 1:00, right? Tony Romo will be broadcasting, so I'll be happily watching from home. Oh, no,
Excellent.
excuse me. That's the Chiefs game. Tony Romo will not be broadcasting the Bengals game. He'll be broadcasting the Chiefs game.
Good.
So 1:00 next week. Do you think Tua's going to play?
It really depends on what direction his thumb goes in. I don't know if I think he'll play. It's a thumb. It's one limb. He's got 10 fingers. I mean, it's on his throwing hand. So 5 and one of them is hurt. He almost played this week. I think if they just give him very minimal reps, give him a lot of mental reps, and really he's got the weekend now. Well, he's had the weekend to compress and to give hot, cold, whatever he needs to get the swelling down. And yeah, I think Tua will play. I'm hoping Tua plays. And if Tua doesn't play, it doesn't affect the outcome of this game at all. I think this Bengals team was living on a prayer with Joe Burrow, and they don't have Mixon. They don't have Burrow. I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do. I don't think they have the line. This is where it comes down to the trenches. Our defensive line should eat. They should dominate. There's not one guy worth naming on that offensive line that could keep up with any of the – I mean – when you send a 0 at them, that's going to be it.
So let me give you some ranks.
Okay.
The Dolphins offense is ranked 29th in the NFL. The Bengals offense is ranked 22nd. So they have a better, more efficient offense than us. That is a little flawed based on that defensive blowouts we've had. The defense, the Dolphins are currently ranked 19th overall. The Bengals are ranked 25th. Passing, Dolphins are ranked 24th, Bengals 17th. And then rushing, Dolphins, of course, 29th. And the Bengals are 28th. So as far as that looks, they have the upper hand. But what they don't have is Brian Flores. What they don't have is the
The
pass.
scheme, the stats are misleading. I think the stats are a little bit misleading there. Some stuff it's true, some isn't. I'm I'm confident in the guys up front. Like I said, when it comes to 4th and 1, and they look good. They don't break. They've given up 3 points in 8 quarters to the Jets, and I know it's the Jets, but the Jets have been putting up 20 something, 30 something points the last few weeks, and here they are putting up three against us. And I've seen this defense just do their job, and they've got a bunch of good guys up there. I don't even think we have anything to worry about on that side. If Tua does play, I need to see the offense move. You need to see improvement. I need to see Devontae Parker be thrown to. I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried. The national media is going to go nuts all the time over, oh, is it Fitz? Is it Tua? It's not a question. It's not a debate. Tua's the guy. He's got the attitude. He's got the talent level. We're treating him like he's played all season. It's been 4 games. No one does well in their first 4 games. And he did okay. If not well, we won. So I'm not worried about Tua.
Yeah, and like you said, we have two formidable quarterbacks that can win us games. Right now, they're pretty much, I'd say they're about equal
Me too.
as far as efficiency. So we have a lot of our problems would be blessings to some other teams in the NFL right now. So if our biggest problem right now is which quarterback we're gonna play, oh man, I should give the Bengals a call and ask them because there's teams that really wish they could have the same problems we have.
Yeah,
So
exactly. They have no quarterbacks. Oh, I mean, look at the Broncos. Why I don't know why we couldn't have gotten them on a week when they were starting a practice squad receiver at quarterback because of COVID. That probably would have changed the game last week for us quite a bit. But yeah, I bet a bunch of teams would love to be able to choose between a vet that can win you the game or an upcoming rookie that can sling the rock and win you the game.
all right,
So
wrap it up. Score prediction, hit me.
for the Bengals game, I'm going to say they don't score more than 10 points. I'm actually not even, I don't know if they score 7. This is going to be kind of bold. It's going to be probably a 21-6 kind of game. I don't think that this Bengals team is any better than the Jets team we just played. So I'm going to give it a 20-6 victory. And I'm hoping to see more offensive points. But if you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Okay. Who? Let me just ask you this: who's going to be the MVP of the game?
Of the game, someone on defense, probably Ogba or Howard. I could see Howard
Yeah.
nagging and he could have had 3 picks today. So he really could have had 3 picks. One of them, he almost had it, and he was looking on his back because I think it was Mims had been jumping on his back to get the ball, and he looked up like, "What the heck? I'm trying to intercept this ball, and I've got a guy jumping on me." So
And
he could have had that one.
it was offensive PI on that too.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. He was just Howard was going for the ball, and there were times where he looks like a receiver out there, and you can't tell who's the DB and who's the receiver. So I'm gonna say Howard's probably gonna be my MVP, and if it's not Howard, it's gonna be Ogba. He's due. Hasn't had a sack in 2 games, so he's due for right.
Really?
He didn't have one against the
Oh, we didn't have one against Denver. Yeah, you're
he
right.
didn't have one against Denver, and I don't think he was one of the guys that got home today. And that's okay if he doesn't get home and someone else does. I don't really care who gets the sacks. I don't really care about any of the stats. I just want to see them get the pressure and make the play and win.
All right, my score prediction. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little bit more efficiency on offense. I'll say 27. So I'll say maybe 3 touchdowns, but 2 field goals. 27. I'll give them a little bit more points. 27-10. I think.
I think that's reasonable. I think that's really reasonable. I just think about their quarterback and their situation that they might not get anything done, but you never know. We saw, and it's a home game. I think the crowd's going to be really behind Tua if he plays. So, and I think I'll be really tough on the Bengals. I can't wait to scream my head off.
Let me
So,
ask you if you
yeah.
remember this off the top of your head. What's the last? We haven't had a home game in a while, have we?
We were on the road the last 2 weeks, but
Chargers.
the Chargers. It
Home?
was the week before Broncos. The Chargers was a home
Okay.
game.
Okay. 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 All
Yes,
right.
it's been a couple weeks, but I think the next 2 are home, right? Chiefs are
Bengals, Chiefs, and then we
no
go
home for Pats, right? Or no?
home against Bengals, and then we play the Chiefs at
Yeah.
home.
Who's next?
Play home against Pats.
Yep.
and then
Sweet.
we go on the road to the Raiders. But that's to be determined what time. So I think they might flex that Saturday, December 26th, right after Christmas. So that'll be a great game, a
Yeah.
Saturday night game. That'll be an elimination game.
Yeah. That'd
We
be a
play
big one.
against the Bills. So
Yeah. That
all right,
Buffalo game is going to be hard unless they're resting people. Like I said, I don't think we're going to win the division, but I also don't know if they'd rest anyone. So we'll see. But just look forward like Flores does, 1 week at a time. We'll look to next week. So
last thing I'll say is the good thing about this schedule is I just realized this: all the teams, if we were to play at Kansas City, at Cincinnati, at New England, and at Buffalo, those are some cold games. And all those teams are playing us at home in December. Only game we have on the road in December is the Raiders in Las Vegas. So we don't have
they
to worry
play in
about
a
any
dome.
cold. Yeah. Either
They
way.
play indoors. So that'll be an indoor game, and then Buffalo's obviously going to be an ice kind of game, and I'm penciling that as a loss. So it might
Oh,
not be, but
you're right. I have it as verse Bills. We are at Buffalo.
we're at Buffalo for that, and that's going to
You're
be an
right.
ice game. I think Tua's going to freeze like a popsicle in that one, but if they lose that one, they lose it, and if they win, that's awesome. So we'll see.
All right. Well, I'm all set. Anything else to add?
No, that's it. I think yeah, we'll just say fins up, and we'll look forward to next week. And it was fun doing this. We're gonna have to keep.
Talk your crap, and we'll see you next week.
Yep,
Fins up.
fins up.